So, blockbuster trade alert. Finally, we had Jalen Ramsey changing teams, and he got traded to the Los Angeles Rams for quite a pretty heavy price. The Rams gave up 2 first-round picks and also a 4th-round pick to acquire Ramsey, and so it's definitely a very interesting trade. We're seeing a lot more of these trades happen. The Khalil Mack trade, I think, kind of started it all, with the Raiders giving up a good player but getting 2 first-round picks back. You also saw it with Laramie Tunsil. You kind of saw it with Minkah Fitzpatrick, although they just got 1 first-round pick back. But it's the kind of thing you're seeing now where teams will get rid of their good players to get draft picks. And so that's kind of what the Jaguars are doing, but with one slight difference, and that difference is the fact that they were already a competitive team. This is not a bad team by any means. But I think they've just realized at this point that Jalen Ramsey isn't going to play for them. And if he does, he's definitely going to phone it in. He's not going to be giving it his all out there for Jacksonville. So at this point, you might as well just trade him now when his stock will be at its highest, and then you can potentially, get 2 first-round picks and still maybe compete this year, but if not, at least you have a couple extra picks for the future. Personally, what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to just explain this from the Jaguars' perspective, then I'll get into it from the Rams' perspective, and then I'll just start breaking down plays from Ramsey and showing what he can bring to the table for the Rams. But from the Jaguars' perspective, I think it's a steal. I love the trade from the Jaguars' perspective. I mean, getting 2 first-round picks for a guy who didn't even want to play for you, and also a 4th-round pick, that's tremendous value, so I definitely love it from their perspective, and they're looking like they could be in good shape in the future. Who knows, maybe Minshew could be a potential franchise quarterback. He still has a lot to prove, but he's been playing very well through 6 games so far. While they are just 2-4, I do feel like they have been relatively competitive this season. However, maybe they just feel like 2-4, that's too big of a hole to climb out of, especially in a tough division in the AFC South. So you're getting good value. The one damaging thing is that pretty much just basically says you're not going to do much in 2019, probably. This appears to now be a rebuilding year, but at the same time, that's not the end of the world. Every year, 31 teams fail to win the Super Bowl, so sometimes you do have to set yourself up for next year, and that appears to be what the Jaguars are doing. They're not going full Dolphins or full 2018 Raiders by any means. I mean, they're still going to try to win. They still have an outside shot at the playoffs if things go perfectly, but at the very least, they're definitely looking to be competitive in the future. However, from the Rams' perspective, I'm not totally sold on it quite just yet. For one thing, part of what they did here was they got rid of Peters to then acquire Ramsey, so it's not really so much just them getting Ramsey, but it's them replacing Peters with Ramsey, and I definitely do think that that's a significant upgrade, Ramsey to Peters. But one of the things that worries me about Ramsey is just simply that he hasn't really been that great this season, and in fairness, I think a lot of that just has to do with him kind of phoning it in a little bit. I mean, Pro Football Focus gave him a grade of 59.6, which, granted, it's a small sample size, so that's kind of a factor in that. But at the same time, I do feel like he hasn't played particularly well this season. He hasn't been bad, but he's kind of played a little bit lackadaisical out there. Like on this play, for example, it's going to be a cover 1 hole right now, and so that means that Ramsey, he just has a one-on-one matchup right there on the edge right over there. The player he's going up against is Corey Davis, who definitely has a ton of potential, but at least as of today in 2019, you definitely think that's a pretty significant advantage Ramsey on that one. But one thing I don't love from Ramsey is watch how he creates no contact at the line and doesn't even fake as though he's creating contact at the line. I mean, personally, I just don't love that. I mean, why not just try something if you're playing press coverage, it can help you, but also look at the situation he's in now. Because of the press coverage, usually the advantage of press coverage can be you can sort of fake him out at the line, create the route to be a lot more difficult, things like that, but he didn't do that, so he kind of just lost the advantage of press coverage right off the bat. But also, as of right now, he's in a tough situation, because Davis can really do 2 things to completely beat Ramsey on this one. One thing he could do is just run a go route, and since they're both at the same spot at this point, this could create an advantage for Davis, and he could potentially get open and make the catch. So for Ramsey, he has to be aware of that, and so what he's doing is he's trying to keep pace with Davis. He's trying to make sure that Davis doesn't get by him. But instead, this is actually not going to be a go route, this is going to be a curl route, and watch how open Davis gets here. He cuts and gets wide open and is able to make the catch and get the first down, even though it wasn't actually a particularly great throw. And that's actually kind of a point. If you look at Ramsey, he was kind of a bit lackadaisical once he realized he got beat. I mean, once you get beat, go back in and try to make a play on the ball. He still had time to make a play on the ball, especially with the poor throw that Mariota threw there. I mean, getting beat on a curl route when you're expecting a go route in man coverage, that's just going to happen. That's tough, unfortunate situation for Ramsey, but try to get back in there and make a play. And you'd also like to see him not give up so much separation on that play as well. So Those are some really nitpicks, but again, if you're giving up 2 first-round picks for a guy, you kind of hope that he wouldn't make those mistakes. There was also this play where it's going to be similar to the last play, but this time it's a cover 1 blitz, meaning that there is nobody in charge of covering the middle of the field. There is someone deep, but not shallow, and Ramsey, he's right over there. So once again, in charge of covering Davis, and so there's actually several things that Davis could do here. One thing you notice is that Ramsey's playing pretty far deep, and this is because they want to have a disguise here. They want to make Mariota think that this could potentially be a cover 3 zone, which it isn't. It's a cover 1 linebacker blitz, but that's just what they want to make Mariota potentially think. And so because of that, that means that Ramsey has to play a lot further deep than maybe he would like to if they weren't worrying about a disguise on this play. And because of that, it now means that there is kind of a lottery situation going on for Tennessee, because Davis is running that route right there, which is absolutely perfect against this type of coverage. It worked out. They didn't know this route was going to be perfect against this type of coverage, but sometimes you win the lottery and a route just is perfect against a certain kind of coverage. However, for Ramsey, that doesn't necessarily mean that this play is over. I mean, for Ramsey, actually his mindset should be, okay, if I see Davis cutting over the middle, then instantly I have to cut in and try to make a play on this ball. However, his reaction time's a bit slow. It takes him a couple of steps, and even then, he kind of runs just straight up as opposed to cutting in, which allowed Davis to get wide open, but the throw is just missed. These plays are mistakes. I mean, they're not disastrous plays, but they're also not him playing at an elite level. They just aren't. I mean, every player in the league makes these types of mistakes, but my point is that when Jalen Ramsey is playing at his best, he doesn't make those type of mistakes. So that's kind of where I'm conflicted in a sense. Because this season he hasn't looked particularly great, but at the same time, I do think that maybe he just isn't giving his all out there. So that's why maybe I'm a little bit less worried about this move than I would be if this is what he had done for his entire career. If 2019 is what he had done for his entire career, then I would hate this move. Or if 2019 is what he had done, but he also was legitimately trying and just was struggling, then I would hate this move for the Rams. But I think there's a real chance that he's not trying, but he's also not giving 100% necessarily for Jacksonville, and hopefully for the Rams, he will then give 100%. Because when he is playing at a high level, he can play at a high level, and what I mean by that is a play like this. This is from 2018, and here's the way this play is going to work. It's going to be a cover 3 zone, but there's actually a disguise going on here for Jacksonville. Really, the 2 guys to watch will be those 2 Jacksonville Jaguars right there, because oftentimes what you would expect is that Ramsey, who's closer to the line of scrimmage on this play, he's further down to the bottom half of the screen, he would be the one in charge of covering the flat, the circle that he's currently in. Then the other Jaguar would be covering the zone on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. However, that's not what they're going to do. Instead, they're going to be doing that. They're going to just flip it around. So that's kind of their idea of how they can potentially fool Ben Roethlisberger here, and it is going to work. Once this ball is snapped, it appears as though Antonio Brown is wide open, and in fairness, he's not totally not open. The advantage in this play is that Ben Roethlisberger believes that Brown is just completely wide open and there's nobody who could cover him, but that isn't the case. He is still open, but Ramsey is in the area and can potentially make a play. So Roethlisberger thinks it's going to be an uncontested play, when in reality, Ramsey is going to be able to contest it. But this play can still work if Ramsey doesn't make a great play on this ball, but watch what he's going to do. It's just a great break. He's able to leap up and pick the ball off. Just a really good play by Ramsey. He's got that great awareness, I feel like, and that's why I'm not really too hard on him for being a little bit unaware on those last couple of plays that he had in Tennessee, because I really don't think that he's trying that much, which that could definitely be considered a negative. I mean, if you are the Rams, you do have to wonder a little bit, well, if he gave up on the Jaguars, couldn't he potentially give up on us? And I mean, yeah, I guess there is that, but at the same time, they wouldn't have traded him away if he still wanted to play for the Jaguars, so there's also that side of things. But if he does end up going all out for Los Angeles, I can fully see this being a great move because he could make some great plays. And watch, this one's another one. It's just going to be straight up one-on-one matchup, him going up against Antonio Brown. That's a big-time matchup. Most corners, if not all corners, are going to struggle against Antonio Brown, and Brown's running that route right there, which is actually a pretty good route to run. It is worth mentioning this actually isn't man coverage, it's cover 3, but it's essentially going to be man coverage. Ramsey's not going to have any help on this play. It'll be all up to him to try to stop Brown. And watch this time how first he does create some contact, which doesn't allow Brown to get that much open. Granted, there maybe is a small window, and Ben Roethlisberger is definitely the type of guy who tries to fit the ball through some small windows, and it works out sometimes, it doesn't work out other times, but he's going to try it here. However, watch Ramsey jump on this one. Watch how he just cuts in front of Brown and gets the interception. Again, that's what Ramsey is bringing to the table. This guy can make some highlight reel plays, and honestly, just he's a tremendous athlete. So from that perspective, I mean, if he can make just a couple of plays like that for the Rams, it would go a long way. I mean, that could be the difference in missing the playoffs or making the playoffs. And honestly, that could be the difference in losing a Super Bowl or winning a Super Bowl. While personally, I would rather have a great edge rusher than a great corner, for example, a great corner can absolutely have some huge plays. And again, he has good awareness. Like, this play is another perfect example of that. Again, cover 3 zone, which is what the Jacksonville Jaguars love to use here in this situation. And that's where Ramsey is, so he's in charge of covering the zone on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. But also, if you notice right when this ball is snapped, nobody's really going to go in that direction. There is an Eagle who's somewhat in the area right over there, that's Alshon Jeffrey, but he's already in the middle of the field, and he's cutting up closer to the top half of the screen, so it seems pretty clear at this point that nobody is going to the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. So for Ramsey, you don't want to just hang out in a place where there's not going to be any offensive players. That doesn't do you any good. So instead, look around and see where you can help out in other ways. And he does that and looks around and sees that there is an Eagles receiver running that route right there. And again, Ramsey all the way over there, there's not really a great chance of him being able to make a play on this ball, but at the same time, it's a better chance than if he just stand around doing nothing, so why not go up there? And once again, this is a situation where Wentz thinks he has an uncontested catch, but since Ramsey is able to run up, he's able to get the interception just simply because Wentz didn't realize that Ramsey was in the area. So yeah, that's what Ramsey can bring to the table. That's the good side of Jalen Ramsey. If he's trying his hardest, he can be a tremendous asset. I think there definitely are some downsides and are some concerns to have if you're the Rams if you made this trade. I mean, you're losing 3 draft picks, 2 of which are first-round draft picks. You're already somewhat up against the cap, and now you're going to have to pay a corner a lot of money, which definitely is a bit of a concern. But at the same time, I'm going to say it right now, I like this move from the Rams. Even if it doesn't work out, I like the move. Super Bowl windows often close a lot quicker than you think they would. This is a situation where the Rams feel like they're still Super Bowl contenders. I mean, I know they're 3-3 now, but that should probably change. I think they're a better team than 3-3. And so if adding Ramsey can then make them a potential Super Bowl contender or Super Bowl favorite, I think it's worth it. I mean, it was just last year where the Rams traded for Dexter Fowler Jr. for a 3rd-round pick, which was definitely something that maybe people were like, yeah, I'm not sure if I would have done that. But then he was able to come through and have a play that led to a Drew Brees interception in overtime to let them go to the Super Bowl. So that's why you go all in. They're going all in here, trying to make sure that Jalen Ramsey can be a huge asset for them, but I like the move. Not every time is there a winner or a loser in every trade. Sometimes trades make sense from both teams. I love the trade from the Jaguars, but I still like the trade from the Rams, and it's giving them their best chance to win a Super Bowl this year, which sometimes you just have to do. So yeah, that's my opinion. What do you guys think of this trade? Is this a trade that makes sense for both sides? Did somebody make a bad trade? Did someone make a good trade? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you guys, and as always, thanks for watching.